Hello and welcome to Tyneside. This is the Tyneside of 2010, which is not the same Tyneside as it was 39 years ago in 1971 when the film Get Carter was made. I'm standing here in North Shields. This is some distance, of course, from the centre of Newcastle and Gateshead where the film was made, but it's not that far from places like Hebburn, which is more or less directly in front of me, and where parts of the film were actually shot, such as the place where Albert was stabbed, where he goes across the River Tyne, and indeed the crossing, which is at Jarrow, which is again can't be seen from here, but it's not all that far from here. When Get Carter came out in 1971, it got rather negative reviews, yet within a rather short time it was considered to be one of the best British gangster films ever made. And just off the top of my mind, the only one that comes anywhere close, I think, is The Long Good Friday. I just can't think of anything else comes anywhere near it. It spawned very quickly an American sort of very similar film, which was The Hitman. I haven't actually seen it myself, and then there was that awful remake in 2000 with Sylvester Stallone. Incidentally, Sylvester Stallone was one of the people campaigning to have the Trinity Square car park saved, which I thought was rather nice of him, which will be seen in some of the films that I've actually done on this. The film shows people from this area as being somewhat different to those from the south. As Carter comes north, he gets on the train, and we see bits not of attractive countryside, but we see industrial heritage. We see power stations and railway lines, as you'd expect, obviously, on a train, and we see factories and things of this nature. When he gets off the train, he goes into a pub, and in the pub we're already as though we're at the zoo. We're at a place where the people are totally different, even to the point of seeing a man with 6 fingers on his hand, or 6 digits I should say. The camera pans around and shows the people as though they're at a zoo, and this is something which is constantly brought out, I think, as though people here were different. As much as even that Michael Caine says he's from, this is his old stamping ground, he was from Newcastle, but he's not. You can tell that from his accent. I mean, at least he would have had an accent similar to what mine is, but he doesn't. He's got this London accent, but you accept that, and it just seems to be part of the film. You accept he's from here originally, and that he works the London mob now, and that's how he is. That's how he is. I think in the film as well, they haven't gone out their way to show the sights of Newcastle, as for example in the 1975 American film, or British I think it was, maybe in Brannigan, where it goes so out of its way to show as many sights as possible of London, even to the point of view of taking ridiculous routes. At times when they could be showing things like the centre of Newcastle, instead of showing it in a more positive light, it shows the negative industrial run-down areas, and that is something which comes out over and over again. The director said that what he wanted to do was to show somewhere which is really hard. The original book I should say, Jack's Return Home, was meant to be somewhere near Doncaster, and Doncaster, the idea was it was Scunthorpe, but this Scunthorpe wasn't right, and so the film was actually made here. For me, this is a sort of Newcastle that I remember of the 70s. It's not the Newcastle of today. Even here where I stand, I mean, this is extremely attractive. I mean, everywhere looks nice in the early Sunday morning before anyone else has got up, as the sun's shining in August. But what we see in front, the cranes, what's left of the Tyne, the shipyards are now closed. The port itself is a port which unloads coal and exports cars. Cars made by a Japanese company, Nissan, taking coals to Newcastle. Well, that's what happens. What I've tried to do in this is I've tried to show some of the scenes, the places where it was filmed. There are places which I haven't shown which are outside of Tyneside. There are places I have not been able to locate, or I don't know where they are. For example, I don't know where Keith lived. I don't know where the place is that Caine follows Margaret down the stairs I don't know where that was, although somebody told me once. That's towards the end of the film. Other places outside of Newcastle I haven't filmed yet, such as Dryderdale Hall, where Kinnear lived, which is in Hampsterley Forest near Woolsing, around there. I haven't also filmed Blythe, where the Staithes are, nor have I filmed Blackhall Colliery, where the final shots are. But that's all to come later, and when I do film that, I'll write it down and you'll be able to see it. Or maybe somebody else will film it and I'll just stick it in a playlist. So here you have my take on the film Get Carter, the 1971 original version, and these are the locations for this film.